Officer, who gave this guy permission to cut this property?
Ma'am, I'm helping her before the city finds her again. Sir, until I understand what's happening, step away from the mower.
Officer, I asked him to help me. He's done nothing wrong.
She got another warning notice, so I came today. Understood. You can continue working, sir. No problem here.
The police officer was telling me to step away from the mower, while the neighbors stood behind him demanding the city take this property. Margaret, a 91-year-old retired teacher sitting in a wheelchair beside 30-inch grass, looked terrified. Another code enforcement notice was taped to her mailbox, and if the violation was not corrected within 7 days, she could face more than $900 in fines. The worst part was that the woman who called the police had been trying to buy Margaret's property for years. She didn't just want the grass cut, she wanted Margaret gone. I had only pushed the Toro mower a few feet into the yard when she came to the fence pointing and shouting that I had no right to touch anything. She told the officer I was trespassing, ruining evidence, and interfering with an active city complaint. I kept my hands visible and explained that Margaret asked me to help before the next inspection. But the officer had only heard the caller's side, so he stayed cautious and told me to step back from the mower until he understood what was happening. Margaret tried to roll forward, but the grass was so thick around the wheels of her chair that she barely moved 2 feet. She lifted one shaking hand and said, "Officer, I asked him to help me. He's done nothing wrong." That one sentence changed the whole scene. The officer turned toward her and asked if she owned the home. Margaret nodded and said she had lived there for 44 years. She and her husband bought it when the neighborhood was still quiet, when the fence was new, when the carport had fresh paint, and when the yard was something they were proud of. Her husband used to cut it every Saturday morning, edge the fence line, and wave at neighbors as they passed. After he died, Margaret tried to keep the routine going, but her knees failed first, then her hands, and after a fall near the back steps, she ended up in that wheelchair. The grass started growing faster than she could fight it. It reached 12 inches, then 20, then nearly 30 inches in the lowest sections behind the fence. By the time I arrived, it had swallowed the mower path, hidden the bottom of the chain-link fence, and curled around the red Toro deck before the blades even touched it. The neighbor kept telling the officer it was a public nuisance, that rodents could hide there, that the grass was lowering property values, and that Margaret had been warned enough times. Some of that may have been technically true. The yard was bad. The overgrowth was real. The city notice was real. But what she left out was why she cared so much. Margaret finally told the officer this same neighbor had offered to buy the property 3 different times after her husband passed. The last offer came only a month after the first violation notice. Margaret said no every time because this was the last place that still felt like her husband was near.